Hey everyone, this is the lesson on lizards for North Carolina wildlife, part of Unit 6, Amphibians and Reptiles. I'm just going to do a brief overview of lizard traits and their biology, and then go into what are the different lizards of North Carolina. So they're pretty standard reptile with plenty of traits that are shared by other reptiles, the lungs, the stomach, the cloaca, this all-in-one hole that's going to be used for excretion of waste as well as reproduction. But they are fairly all going to be adapted to the mostly terrestrial life. We've got our anatomical model here, and then in comparison we have our excellent green anole example below that to match up with it. So ecologically, lizards, like amphibians and other reptiles, they're this intermediate part of the ecosystem and in the food chains, what's known as a secondary consumer. So they're not eating the plants, and they're not the top level organisms, but they're eating the guys who eat the plants. So this can be good in terms of things like pest control. One example of a North Carolina lizard would be the fence lizard, fairly widespread across North Carolina, easily recognizable by its very scaly skin, got its name from being found on lots of fence posts. We've got the green anole, probably the most common one and most recognizable. You can tell the females with the white stripe going down their back. Males often have a very pronounced throat, what's called a dewlap, that they use to warn off other males as well as try to attract females. And sometimes they're referred to as chameleons, although they're not true chameleons, but quite related to them. They're very closely related to iguanas and chameleons, but they are not themselves chameleons. Even though they can change colors from green to brown, it's usually due to environmental conditions like stress, such as temperature. Since they are cold-blooded, if their bodies are cold, then they're a little bit more stressed. If they're having to run from predators, they're a little bit more stressed, and this could change their colors instead of them just trying to blend in. We also have the six-lined race runner. You can easily tell because of its 6 lines. Unlike a lot of other lizards, these guys stay on the ground. And kind of like skinks, they have the blue tail when they're younger, although many skinks have the blue tail, and none of them are called a blue tail skink. And this guy, he is not a skink, but he does kind of look like them. We have the 5-line skink right here. Looks very much like that race runner there, but he has a different number of lines. There's also the broad-headed skink, the coal skink, and another one as well that I'm forgetting. But they all have blue tails when they're younger, and none of them are poisonous. There's not one poisonous, venomous reptile in all of North Carolina. A lot of people spread the myth that the blue tail is the poisonous lizards, but it is indeed not a poisonous one. But like other lizards, these skinks, the anoles, they will all lose their tail as a defensive mechanism and regrow it, kind of like a salamander regrows its parts too. Now, if you try to catch a glass lizard's tail, it will also break off, which is why it got its name, glass lizard. It looks like a snake, but it is definitely a type of lizard that is evolved to no longer have limbs anymore. It has a very different head, though, than snakes do. You can see how the snake head, it's got a much more kind of smooth, almost elegant jaw and neckline, whereas the glass lizard, he's got a very kind of chunky jaw and thick neck there. And he'll also have ear holes, which snakes will not have. And we got 3 different types of glass lizards, all look pretty similar. So 11 total species of lizards in North Carolina. Hopefully you go out and see one sometime and maybe even catch one. Hope that was helpful.